What do you do when you are your own roadblock? When things like fear, imposter syndrome, self doubt, and just whatever that thing is won't get out of your damn way. Well, that's why we have Jennie here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Shauna, I just absolutely adore you. This is such an honor. So I'm actually a brain spotting mentor, and we'll get into exactly what brain spotting is. Come from a history of paramedic. I've been a paramedic for over 20 years now, did 911 for 10 years. I've been a business coach for about 3 years now, did some other types of coaching in the past. And the reason that this issue is so important is because when I was doing the coaching before, I was my own best roadblock, 100%. I spent 5 years, not to sound crass, but beating a dead horse because I wouldn't do the thing I knew I needed to do. I was doing everything else. And if you had asked me, in fact, I don't know how many arguments I had with my husband about, I'm doing it. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But the proof was in the pudding because I wasn't making any money. I wasn't getting the clients. I get a few here and there, but it wasn't happening. And so I ended up having this brain spotting session. And in 1 hour, the world changed completely. So, Shauna was asking, why do I feel this is important to me? Because this is what changed my trajectory to put me in a position where I am today, which is a successful marketing coach. I'm actually marketing, not that I'm marketing. Yeah, that sounded terrible, but you know what I mean. I'm actually marketing myself. And I know that in this audience, that a large number of you have something standing in your way. And maybe you've been doing a lot of the mindset stuff. You've been doing all the things they tell you to do to fix it. Be scared and do it anyway. Tapping, limiting beliefs exercises, fill in the blank, and it's not working and you're blaming yourself. You don't need to.
And that's exactly it. That self-blame. I mean, we talk about that being a roadblock in and of itself, but it's also a symptom of you being your own roadblock.
100%. 100%. When I finally was to the point where I was ready to do some brain spotting on myself, because this was all new to me. I didn't understand what it was. I was just desperate. I was thinking about just shuttering up and saying, I can't be an entrepreneur anymore. And yet I knew in my heart and my soul that this is what I was made for.
And you can imagine, and this actually breaks my heart because I hear these stories often, right? This idea that, well, I reached a limit, couldn't do it anymore, so I quit.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart because I've seen so many people who have pushed through, and I've seen the amazing results that have happened, not just for them, like for them as an entrepreneur, of course, their own success, but the ripple effect, because you are the helper, right? You are the person who will help the people who help the people who help the people. It's like, what? So as soon as you close up shop, you could be literally limiting hundreds of people.
Yeah. Yeah. You end up killing the dream of somebody else who needed you to fulfill their dream. And it's soul crushing because you also know that.
Yeah.
And you blame yourself.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, I can say it all I want and we're going to dive into it, but to me, that's unacceptable. I can't let that happen. And that's why I'm here. And that's why you're here. And we're going to shake it up. Right now, I wanted to reflect back because you said as a marketing coach, and I thought about it and I was like, marketing, verb, not noun.
Right.
Just to clarify, if anybody was still hung up on that, because I kind of was for a moment.
The fact that I'm able to market, because I'll tell you that first 5 years, I was focusing on a different field completely, but I would not have been on a podcast, any podcast. Actually, I think I did go on one. I was terrified. I did a terrible job. She thought I did great, but I judged myself and I kept myself. And now I'm on podcasts and I'm speaking and I'm networking and I'm, I still hate social media. I'm not going to, brain spotting is not going to change that, but I'm doing it. and it's getting out there. I'm being found.
And that's key when you're able to just step. I don't want to describe it. I want to let you describe it, because it's a different it's a different way of looking at mindset
Hmm.
than your traditional. Like, a lot of people think of mindset and they think of a lot of woo woo. They think of a lot of,
Right.
just think, oh, I this is my favorite, this is my own, by the way. I'm not stealing this from anybody. uh Sister Hazel's song "Change Your Mind." If you haven't heard it, it's, I don't know, from the 90s or something.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
Right?
Yes.
So change your mind. If you don't like what you are, if you want to be somebody else, change your mind. I think that's the
Hmm. The basics of it. Yeah.
um and that's, it's nice to say, and and technically correct. Like, we see that all the time. Like, I've got Atomic Habits here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He talks about identity and changing your mind about who you are in order to shift your reality and take action towards your goals,
Mhm.
etc. Changing your habits, so technically true. But if there are underlying things that make your belief in that hiccup at all, you'll veer off course.
Right.
And that's where brain spotting, my this is my understanding, and I'd like you to clarify. That's where brain spotting kind of pinpoints that hiccup and allows us to work through it in such a way that we don't go off course. We actually achieve the goals. If I have mistaken that at all, please explain it better than I have.
I think that's a really good way to start the explanation. I think there's a little bit of tweaking I would do. So using some words that are maybe catch words or whatever, but a lot of times it's the traumas. And it could be big T traumas, little T traumas.
Right.
It could be that you're terrible with money because when you were a kid, your family didn't have any and you were starving and you think that that's normal. Or it could be that you have a family that was middle class or even well to do, and your parents one night had a fight when you were 4 or 5, and they were talking about how money is impossible to come by and you can't ever earn enough. And so these things happen along the way. And if your body and your brain, and it's both, your body and your brain feel that that belief is necessary for your safety, it's not going to let you just think it away. You're
Right.
going to have to put in some serious work to get past it. Now, is brain spotting the only way to get past it? Well, no, because, we've been on this earth how long? And people have managed to get past blocks. But it is the fastest way I've ever seen, because we don't go in there and just address it. We go in there and we just erase it. Not that you forget, but we
Mhm.
erase the hiccup. We let the brain and the body go, you know what? That's not necessary for survival anymore. I don't even need to think or feel that anymore. Okay, what's next?
That is really cool. You're like
Yeah.
literally rewiring, like, your nervous system.
Yeah. So there's a limiting beliefs exercise that I used to use a whole lot. In fact, I used it for myself a lot, where you identify that negative voice, whatever it is, and you ask yourself, okay, so if that's not the truth, what is? And you
Mm,
find the truth. So it might be, you know, I'm not lovable. Well, what is the truth? Well, the truth is, I'm actually pretty lovable. People love me. That's a good thing, right? So, but if I just do that, like a positive affirmation, my brain's not going to believe that, because we have these little sentries that stand up there and they go, new phrase coming in. I'm lovable. Well, let's
mm.
check. And they go look through all the files and everything. Oh, you know what? Nope, this says you're not. This says you're not. Yeah, you're not lovable. And you'll never get past it that way. So, the exercise, what you do is you start to provide proof. You say, you know what? I am lovable. I've been married for 15 years to a man who still adores me. I have stepchildren who, treat me like they're, my own. I've got friends. You start building this list and you retrain those centuries to go to a different pile of truth. With brain spotting, we don't even go through the front door. We go through the back door, we find that file, we throw it out and put the new file in.
That sounds like a trick.
It does. And
I feel like that's like a cheat code. I'm like, nah,
yeah,
I don't know. You're not supposed to do that in these games. So how does that even, how can you even do that?
it's a matter, it's what's called a somatic therapy. So somatic means of the body. And what happens is that traditional mindset work only works on the mind, but we're going in through the body, which they recently have found. So there was a study in summer that talked about kidneys having memory cells. And then I heard a really interesting talk the other day that they think they figured out how the body stores memory. It stores it in the water, which is stored in a fourth um, status type plasma. It's really cool if you want to dig in on
So
it.
in
But
other words, Olaf was right.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if anybody's watched Frozen 2, I'm just saying Olaf.
Olaf is right. So
Oh,
what we can do is we can bypass those centuries because we're coming in through the body, which is the way you first experienced that memory to begin with.
right.
And this isn't a painful thing. It's not a horrible thing. Have there tears sometimes because emotions are real, but we tap into that emotional and that sensation, that physical sensation, and then let it retrain the brain. And it's so fast. In fact, I had one marketing expert I talked to, and I told her, I said, most people are done in a session, maybe 3 if it's really deep and difficult. And she said, don't tell people that. They won't believe you. Their BS meter will go through the roof.
Right? That's what I just said. I said you're tricking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've seen it for the last 2 years consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently. One of my favorite stories is somebody that I did Brainspotting on, and I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't working this time. And I was like, because normally the pattern happens. So you come into a session, we do it by Zoom, 100%. You don't need to be in person. In fact, I've never done one in person. We talk about what the issue is. We find it in the body. Where do you feel it? And you can actually do this on your own when you're having that sensation that's keeping you stuck. Find it. Okay. The next thing that we'll do together is we'll find a brain spot where we'll use your eyes to figure out where it's stored in your brain. But you don't have to do that. Okay. What you can do is just instead keep focusing on the sensation. Listen to your body. Be willing to hear what it's telling you. That's sometimes easier when you have someone guiding you to do that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sometimes words will come up, sometimes memories, sometimes the sensation just moves. And it'll allow you to process the feeling. One of the biggest issues that we have here in the United States as a culture is we don't feel our feelings.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason we have so many of these big T, little t traumas is that we just stuff it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So we feel that feeling, we follow it, we listen to what the brain has to say, what the body has to say. And I've had people say, I feel like I'm just complaining. It's like, it's okay, complain, because there always is this part where they go, huh, I never thought of that. And they'll make a connection. And then all of a sudden, that sensation will change and it'll change to something positive. And the thought processes will go from negative to positive. And it's beautiful. I had one person who she was terrified of technology, and it was
Right.
keeping her from being successful. And so she felt it as a heavy cloak on her shoulders, and it was a very heavy, dark cloak. And as we went through, she realized that she could play and she didn't have to be perfect. And the cloak, as it changed, became like a light hat that was crystallized and she could take on and off her head.
Oh, that's fun.
And, and it's so much fun when they have imaginations like that. And I had one person who, I don't even remember what we were brain spotting, but she was like, for some reason, I now have a unicorn horn growing out of my head. I was like, just go with it. It'll go away.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of touched on it already. I had a question pop up as you were describing this because this is a journey. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you say, okay, it'll happen in 1 or 2 sessions. I'm like, all right, listen, this is a journey for 1 or 2 sessions. And I imagine that more things come up as you go as well. So
Right.
backtrack. My question is,
Mhm.
let's make this specific, because all that we've discussed is very if you're a human, you experience these things.
Right.
And I think that's a very appropriate point of view. I believe that, I'm human-centered. We're a human-centered platform. This is what we do. And you and I both speak to entrepreneurs. So we know every entrepreneur is they're going to be, what's in it for me? Other than, oh, yeah, I feel happy again. Like, how is this going to actually give me ROI? Let's
Okay.
look at that. What is this?
So let's talk money. Let's
Oh,
talk money. Let's do the
all right.
first one. All right. So I have a client. Her biggest problem is she's a perfectionist, and it was getting in her way. Right? She was overdoing everything for every client. She had the networking down. She knew how to do that. She was getting people in, but she could only handle a certain number of clients, not because of energy level, but because she was doing so much. She was doing like 3 hours of research before she met with them for an hour. Yeah, I mean,
A lot.
just over the
That's a lot.
top.
That's a lot.
And so she was expected to make about $50,000 by the end of the year. We did Brainspotting. She figured out that her revelation was one we've already figured out. She didn't need to do that. She was very gifted at what she did. Good notes, 15 minutes of prep. She was going to be fine. And she made $150,000
Because she freed up the time and
because
energy
she freed up
in
the time
order
and
to
energy. Right.
have more clients.
So a little more direct to a lot of these people, which is the same kind of thing that I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Very first client that I did Brainspotting on. I tried so many different things. Oh my gosh. Because we'd been working together for about 6 months beforehand, before I was even trained in Brainspotting. She wanted to tell her physician that she had just opened her private practice. She was a therapist. And we had done everything we could think of, and she just couldn't do it. So she was like, I've got an appointment with them today for my annual. I said, let's try this new Brainspotting thing. Let's see if it works. So we did the session, 1 hour. That's it. The end of the session, she went to her appointment. She told that doctor. She called 2 other doctors that she talks to on the regular basis for other issues. And she was going through a list of 25 people that she knew and reaching out to them and letting them know. Remember that list that every single course you've ever been in that says reach out to 100 people, and everybody goes, yeah, right. Next. You can do it.
She just did it. She just went
She
through.
just did
That's
it.
the dream 100 list, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, there was no weight to it anymore.
yeah.
Um,
And that's something I just want to put into perspective here, because like, that's something you don't realize. Like,
mhm.
she didn't come to you saying, I really should reach out to my dream 100. Like, she wasn't like, she was just like, I don't know. I'm doing this thing, and I know that a couple of my physicians could probably be great referral partners, and I think they would help me pick up my business, but I'm not sure. But it didn't just stop there, right? Because of that um because
The
of that
thought,
cleared pathway
yeah.
of thought and feeling, she was able to execute on tasks over and above the ones that she thought she needed to do, which led to, of course, exponential results.
Yes, of course. Of course. We run into a lot of, am I really worth the money that I'm charging?
That's a hard one.
No. I was the coach at the beginning that it was like, oh, I can't really charge anybody because,
Mhm.
I'm not sure I'm worth it. I need more experience. Well, can they afford me? All of those things. I had a client like that, and we went through, and he went from really struggling to charge just a minimal fee for his
Yeah.
time to charging his ideal rate, because he realized, wait a minute, I'm doing something for them. They are paying me because I've done all this training and I have the information. And while that seems really obvious, unless it's in here and in here, sometimes we can't act on it and we get stopped.
Absolutely. Actually, I've got a really great story for that. Before I'm going to tell the story, but I would
Yeah.
also like to invite you in a moment to share something with our audience that we haven't touched on today, because this is already, I just want to let you all know who are listening here, that you're able to join this conversation. right? Like ask questions, because this is just I know you
Oh,
hear tip of the iceberg. This is like the snowflake that fell on the tip of the iceberg. Okay. Like every time I speak with Jennie, I learn something new about this. And I can't emphasize enough the amazing transformation that you can achieve when you get past these roadblocks, especially when you're able to do it quickly and just be
right.
okay. Because now you're it's like the start of the momentum.
Yeah. It's the I had somebody say, it's not that I'm going to be the whole path to getting you $20,000 a month, but I'm going to help you push that first domino down
Yep.
so that you can.
That's it. That's it. And so, like I say, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I've asked a lot of questions, and I know there are so many other questions. And I also know that I haven't asked all the questions, Jennie, that you have the
Oh,
capacity to answer. So, in a moment, I'm going to let you share with the audience what you think they really need to hear right now. And in the meantime, I want to tell a short story.
mhm.
And it's as it pertains to charging your worth, because I think this story is really awesome, and you may have heard it before, but it's good. Um, it's where there's like this big machine, right? Like a submarine or something. And part of it has broken, and they call up this dude and they're like, hey man, come fix our machine. And he's like, okay, it's going to be this many tens of thousands of dollars for me to come out. And they're like, okay, I guess, like nobody's been able to fix it thus far. So the guy comes out and he takes a look at it, and he kind of knocks on it a little bit. He looks at a few things. He takes his hammer and whacks it one good time in a place, and it starts working. They're like, that was amazing, but we're not paying you for those 2 seconds of work. And he's like, you're not paying me for the 2 seconds of work. You're paying me for the years of experience that allowed me to know exactly where to hit this to fix it.
Mhm.
So understanding that when you're charging your worth, it's not just about how many clients have I served? How can I justify this in whatever? You have an entire lifetime of experience, just as a human being, never mind academic and training and all that jazz that could be over and on top of that, um, that you can just lean on as you state, this is what I charge,
Mhm.
period, and have confidence in doing so. So there's that. That's
I'd like to add something to that real quick, real quick, real
well,
fast.
actually, you know what? Add something to it,
Okay.
and
And do
share your additional piece of information that I didn't ask for whatever reason.
she just wants to get off the big camera is what it is. Yes.
Go
So
ahead.
no, that what I was going to say to that is that people aren't paying for you. They're not paying for your worth. They're not paying for your experience. What they're paying for is your solution.
Mhm.
So if you can give them what they need, which most of you who are listening can, otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. So what is my one piece of information that I just feel like really you need to understand? You're not broken. You're not broken. The reason you're not getting results has nothing to do with you not being enough, not having enough skills, not because you haven't taken the right course. It's not that you're not using the right techniques. If you are trying and getting stopped, it's a block and it's very easily fixed. And you can fix it the long way. You can fix it the quick way. I'm not the only brain spotter out there. There are 14,000 of us. You're welcome to call one of them. I'd love to talk to you. You can use the QR code here. You can find me on my website, jenniehayes.com. 30 minutes free. It's a no pressure. I mean, I know people say that all the time, no pressure sales call, but here's the thing. If you're not right for brain spotting or you don't think that it's going to work by the end of our conversation, why would I sell it to you anyway? You're
Mm.
not going to do me a favor or you a favor. So if you think you might have a block, usually you'll know because it'll be like, man, every time I go to do this, I feel it and I just can't, or I put it off because I just don't want to. Jump on a call with me. Let's explore it. Maybe something simple like a limiting beliefs exercise, tapping, sometimes just acknowledging will get you past a block. Sometimes you need brain spotting.
I love that. And also, I mean, I think about this. I'm like, hey, listen, what's the worst that can happen? You can have a friggin' amazing, hilarious conversation with Jennie. Like, You're going to be just enjoying yourself. So why not? There's literally, okay, so you just saw the QR code up there. If you didn't scan it, rewind, scan it. Like, it's not that hard, but also it's in the show notes. So you absolutely want to hop on that call, because why would you not? Plain and simple. That said, once you've gotten over those hiccups and you're like, yes, I want to show up consistently online. I want to have a brand that's aligned with who I am, and I want to do it with confidence and gusto, and I want to be myself when I do it, while simultaneously attracting aligned clients and growing my business at scale. That's where I come in. If you can go to shaunalee.com, that's SHAUNALEIGH.com, you will find all of my contact information, and reach out to me. Say hi, because I'm also hilarious. So, like, come on. Now, that said, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Make sure you join in next week, because we have calls just like this every single week, and you get to join the conversation. Shoot us a message. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We'll chat soon. See you later.